Okay, good morning everyone. Today we will be going through the microeconomic essay on price discrimination from your SA2. Okay, so this is the question. Alright, can you please take out your question paper and read through the question. Okay, and at the same time, please make sure that you have your market structure lecture notes before you. Okay, because we need to go through and recap some price discrimination content before we go through the following question. Okay, now I am at market structure. Okay, and I'm on page 67 of market structure right now. Can everyone please turn to page 67 of market structure? Now let's first go through a little bit of content, alright, before we go through the question. Okay, now for price discrimination, have you ever wondered why they use the word discrimination within price discrimination? Okay, because the producer is charging different prices for different units of the same commodity for reasons not associated with cost. So it's a bit like discriminatory. Okay, let's say, alright, so let's say a producer charges two people different prices for the same kind of good. Okay, and the cost to provide the good is the same. Now, in a sense, it is a bit discriminatory, don't you think so? Okay, and that's why we call it price discrimination. The cost to produce the output is the same for both people, but the producer charges each person a different price, and that is price discrimination. Okay, so remember, okay, a higher price but not associated with cost difference. Alright? Okay, next I want to emphasize on the conditions required for price discrimination. Okay, here we have the condition of market imperfections, right? Okay, and I want to highlight that firms need to possess some degree of market power. Okay, it could, let's say, be a monopoly. Okay, it could be an oligopolist. Okay, even firms in MPC can price discriminate to some extent because they do also have some degree of market power, just that they have less market power, right? Okay, but most of the time, price discrimination occurs, right, when firms have a high degree of market power, when they're either an oligopolist or a monopoly, alright? Okay, and why is this a necessary condition? Okay, because let's say if there is only one seller of a good, okay, the seller can engage in price discrimination since the buyers cannot turn to an alternative supplier. So if a producer price discriminates and it charges a consumer quite a high price relative to other consumers, that particular consumer that is charged a higher price cannot run away to buy from other producers. Okay, and that is why some degree of market power is required. Okay, alright, and the other point would be that of segmentation of the market. It must be possible, okay, for firms to segment the market by classifying its buyers into separate identifiable groups. Okay, before you can charge each market a different price, you must be able to segment them into different markets, right? Okay, and next, after you segment your market, okay, given that you're able to segment your market into two smaller markets, then okay, it must also, okay, each market must also have differing price elasticities of demand. Okay, so I think I've talked about this before, right? If the demand is relatively price elastic. If the demand is relatively more price elastic, will you increase or lower prices? If the demand is relatively more price inelastic, would you increase or lower prices? Okay, and this is something that we have talked about before, all right, and I'm just recapping, right? Now, the last condition is that of resale. Resale cannot be possible, must not be made possible, okay? Because if not, there will be seepage between the markets. What happens if you think about it, okay? If there are two markets, A and B, and A you charge a lower price, and B you charge a higher price. What would happen if resale is possible? What would happen is that consumers in market A, they will buy more of the tickets, they will buy more of the good, and then they will resell to consumers in market B. Okay, I repeat, if resale is possible, what would happen is that consumers in market A would buy the good and then they will resell to consumers in market B. Alright, and if that is so, okay, your price discrimination is not going to work, right? Because people in market B will not buy anymore from you. They will just buy from the consumers who are reselling in market A. Market B consumers will start to buy tickets from consumers in market A who are reselling. Okay, so think about it. Reselling should not be made possible. If it's possible, okay, consumers in market A who are charged a lower price will buy more and they will resell to market B, alright, okay, and market B will no longer want to buy from you. Alright, so these are the conditions for price discrimination to work. Alright, and now let's go into the question. Okay, I told you before that when you see a question, okay, you need to think aloud, right or not? Okay, and how do you think aloud? You actually jot down your thoughts, okay, when you read the essay question. Okay, so I'll go through line by line. Admission prices to Gardens by the Bay. Okay, and the next line, Western Flower Dome and Cloud Forest Conservatories for adult. And then you see and you notice some things. What do you notice? Okay, I repeat. You need to ask yourself, what do you notice that stands out to you? Okay, and you know you must address, then you better address it in your answers. Okay, so you notice that there are two markets, okay, and different prices. Okay, I highlight here, okay, different price. Okay, the market has been segmented into two markets, two smaller markets, and there are different prices. So now the question is this price discrimination? Alright, is this price discrimination? And what is the definition of price discrimination when, okay, there are different prices, and at the same time the differences in prices is not due to cost differences. Alright, okay, so is this price discrimination? Okay, so right now when I'm thinking, is this price discrimination, I would be asking myself, is there a difference in the cost? Is there a difference in the cost to provide a visit for the local residents and tourists who need to pay the standard rate? Basically, the tourists need to pay the standard rate. Okay, the Singapore citizens, okay, permanent residents and so on will be paying the local resident rate. Okay, so this one will be for citizens, okay, and PR and so on. So is there a cost difference for the producer when they allow these people to visit the gardens? Is there a cost difference? to allow the citizens and the tourists to visit the gardens. Okay, to me, I don't really think there's a cost difference. I mean, why would there be a cost difference to allow citizens or tourists to enter the gardens? Okay, there wouldn't be, right? Just to emphasize that it's the Singapore citizens, the PRs, okay, and those living in Singapore over a long period of time, they'll enjoy the local resident rates. All other people, like the tourists, would be enjoying the standard rate. Okay? So, and this is something that I think stands out to me. The proof of residency may be required when purchasing tickets or when entering conservatories. Okay, so at this point, you may be wondering, what is this for? What is this for? Right? It stands out to you, okay, and at the same time you know that you need to use it, but maybe at this point in time you're not sure, okay, and I think you have to think about it deeply, okay, and see if it fits anywhere. All right, now part A, explain whether the above case is an example of price discrimination. Okay, so let's look at the answers. Okay, so first of all, I give the definition. Okay, I give the definition of what price discrimination is: when a firm sells the same product or good at different prices, but it is not a result of the cost of production. Okay, and that is price discrimination. It's like you're discriminating against a particular group of people. You're charging them higher prices, right? Okay. So here, in terms of the preamble, all right, you can see that those living in Singapore, whether Singaporean citizens or let's say PRs, foreigner PRs, are charged the same lower rates. Okay, this is so even though the cost of production for the tourists as well as those living here permanently is the same. So there is actually no cost difference to provide them the service. Okay, there's no cost difference that in providing them the service. All right, then why is the price different from each other? Well, that is price discrimination. Okay, it's a strategy used to increase the total revenue of the monopolists. Okay, now for the main development, right? So how do I decide whether it is an example of price discrimination? Okay, sorry, I missed out. Go back to the question. We are still thinking aloud. When you see the word explain, whether is it or not, you actually need to give two sides, even though the word here is explain, because you know most of the time when you see the word explain, it's one-sided. That means you just give one side. But because you see the word whether, do you think, okay, so when you see the word whether, you need to give two sides, okay, regardless of whether or not the first word is explain, because explain is usually one-sided, but once you see the word whether, you know that it must be two sides. Okay, so explain whether it's an example of price discrimination. You need to use the conditions. How do you know whether it is price discrimination or not? Alright, if the conditions exist, okay, it can help to support that it is price discrimination. Right, if the conditions that allow price discrimination to exist, they are here, okay, then you can use it to say that price discrimination is happening. Okay, now let's go through some of the conditions. Okay, so condition 1, okay, the condition 1, and I just want to remind you that this is from the lecture notes, that there must be some kind of market imperfection, and in particular we are talking about, okay, because you know market imperfections, there are actually two kinds of market imperfections, right? Basically we could talk about imperfect information, but here we want to focus instead on market dominance. Okay, most of the time, the market imperfection that exists here, all right, in price discrimination will be that of market dominance. That is the key one. Okay, so for this context, it's very obvious that there is high market dominance because, right, Gardens by the Bay, they do possess strong market power because it is a unique tourist attraction and therefore it lacks close substitutes, right? These are all the words that we use for strong market power, right? And do you remember under market structure, I did tell you before what is strong market power, and you should be taking it down now to recap. Market power is the ability to raise price to increase the TR. Okay? And Gardens by the Bay has that ability. Why? Because there are few close substitutes. And why are there few close substitutes? It's a very unique tourist attraction. It possesses a very large range of flowers and plants. Okay? And in fact, if you look at the structures there, okay, the tall structures that they have there, they are all very unique. Okay? And furthermore, there is only one ticket seller, official ticket seller to this garden. Therefore, the ticket office at Gardens by the Bay can be seen to have high market power. Okay? In general, it is they can increase, they have a high ability to increase price, to increase their TR, so as to increase their profits. So, when it uses price discrimination, okay, right? Okay, it is not possible for visitors from this group, let's say the tourists who are charged a higher price, it is not possible for them to buy tickets from elsewhere because no one, it's almost like a monopoly, right? No one else sells tickets to Gardens by the Bay. Okay, it is almost like a monopoly. No one else can sell tickets to Gardens by the Bay legally, right? Okay, and the next condition, condition number 2, okay, is that you must be able to segment your market, and in each market there must be a different price elasticity of demand. Okay, and here we say that tourists are likely to have a more price inelastic demand as compared to people like you and me who are living in Singapore long term, either as a citizen or as a PR. Tourists have a price inelastic demand. Okay, they would want to enjoy the scenic experience given the limited time they have in Singapore. And the key phrase I think here is limited time. To them, it's like they cannot wait for the price to drop, or wait for another time to enjoy the good. To them, it's like almost like a necessity. It's so important for them to visit the gardens during their limited time that they have here in Singapore, right? Okay, so tourists, okay, it's a necessity to tourists. Okay, Gardens by the Bay has a low availability of substitutes. Okay, on the other hand, add it in, okay, I think that the essay should have included comparative words, because in a way you are comparing to show that each market has different elasticity of demand. On the other hand, citizens and foreign residents have a more price elastic demand because there are more opportunities to visit in the future, so the degree of necessity is not that high for citizens and PRs, okay? Next, the seller must be able to separate the different submarkets so that no reselling can take place from a low price market to a high price market. Now think about it, as I said just now, if the price in market A is lower than market B, consumers in market A will try to take advantage of the situation by buying a lot of tickets and reselling to market B. And this is possible for this case, right? Okay? Because, if you're a local resident, what you might try to do is that you might try to buy at $20, okay? And then you sell it to the tourists at $28, okay? But it is not possible right? You know why? Because of something that we picked up earlier about the proof of residency, which is required when purchasing tickets or when entering conservatories. Okay, so what happens is that it is not possible for tourists to buy from local citizens, okay, because on the ticket, because if these tourists they buy from the citizens, they must have an IC to prove that they are a citizen. Okay, so it would not be possible. Resale would not be possible because of this point on proof of residency. But if the authorities did not have this point, if they don't check for proof of residency, well, then reselling would be possible. Okay? Now, okay, so here for the conservatories, this is done by requiring visitors to produce proof of residency both at the time of purchase as well as the entry points. This will be possible due to the presence of different observable buyer characteristics in terms of the proof of residency that is checked by the staff at Gardens by the Bay. So they will check. So there's no way you can resell. Okay, if you're a tourist and you want to buy from local citizens, well, you need to prove that you are a local citizen, and you will not be able to prove because you do not have an IC. Okay? Now, remember just now that I said, okay, all of us know that it generally can be seen to be a case of price discrimination. It is obvious. But you need to address the command word here, which is whether, right? Which means that you give two sides and you have to squeeze that out somewhere, okay? So I can evaluate by saying that, hey, it may not be really it may not be able to happen, it may not be possible, okay? It may not be possible in the following situation because at times when the volume of visitors is high, it may be possible that the checks on proof of residency are not as stringent. As such, it may be possible for buyers, basically the citizens, to resell them to the tourists, and therefore a condition of price discrimination may not be fulfilled. Okay, and therefore price discrimination may not be possible in the following situation. Okay, so in a way it's a bit like an evaluative point. The way you're arguing it is like saying that generally it is price discrimination, all the conditions have been fulfilled. However, if during times of peak period the checks are not stringent, then it is not possible for price discrimination to occur. Okay, so boys and girls, this is my video for part A only of the price discrimination question. Okay, take a break and then open up the video for part B of the price discrimination question, which is about to what extent is the practice of price discrimination beneficial. Okay, that is an important video because almost all of you did not study this part. Chances are you do not understand the graphs for this part very well. Okay, so look out and click the next video after your break.